whimsy, Letham's handling of the topic is consistently thoughtful, wise, and mature. Listeners will also encounter an author who respectfully engages in conversation with theologians who span the course of the history of theology. The first part of Letham's book, entitled The Holy Spirit and the Trinity, exhibits his familiarity with the history of theological reflection on the Holy Trinity. Letham views the Church's confession of the Trinity as an expression of the cumulative biblical exegesis of the whole Church. While some may question Letham's decision to begin with a survey of the Church's reflection on the doctrine of the Holy Spirit before treating the biblical witness to the person and work of the Holy Spirit in the history of redemption, Letham properly recognizes that the interpretation of Scripture's witness did not begin in the modern period. Accordingly, it is inappropriate to engage directly with the scriptural witness regarding the Holy Spirit, as though modern readers of the biblical text may ignore the Church's engagement with this witness throughout the centuries. Thus, unlike many contemporary studies of the doctrine of the Holy Spirit, the first part of Letham's book lays a foundation for an understanding of the person and the work of the Holy Spirit by taking listeners on an extended tour through the history of confessional and theological reflection. Rather than beginning with contemporary voices and emphases, Letham welcomes his listeners to join him in exploring the fruits of the Church's historic reflection on the Holy Spirit. In the course of his discussion of the Holy Spirit and the Trinity, Letham traces the development of the doctrine of the Holy Spirit on the road to the Council of Constantinople I, 381. This council represented a kind of watershed in the early Church's confession of the Trinity. In the aftermath of the critical decision of the Council of Nicaea, 325, on the deity of the Son, the Church reached a consensus that the Holy Spirit is consubstantial with the Father and the Son, the same in being, yet distinct in person or hypostasis. To the affirmation of Nicaea that the Son is consubstantial with the Father, Constantinople added that the Church believes in the Holy Spirit, the Lord and life-giver, who proceeds from the Father, who is worshipped and glorified together with the Father and the Son, who spoke by the prophets. Two features of Letham's treatment of the Church's historic consensus regarding the Holy Spirit are especially noteworthy. First, on the dispute between the Eastern and Western churches regarding the double procession of the Spirit from the Father and the Son, ex patre filoque procedit, Letham steers a middle course. In Letham's estimation, the common Western objection to the Eastern Church's denial of the double procession, namely that it fails to affirm the intimate relation between the Spirit and the Son, is overstated. Since the Eastern Church has expressed a willingness to affirm that the Spirit proceeds from the Father through the Son, the claim that the Spirit is not intimately related to the Son within the Eastern view is somewhat exaggerated. Moreover, by virtue of the Eastern Church's acknowledgement that the three persons of the Trinity mutually indwell and interpenetrate one another, the procession of the Spirit from the Father is a procession from the Father of the Son, who eternally is in and with the Father. Because the West's formulation affirms a common procession of the Spirit from the Father and the Son, Letham maintains that it tends to confuse the distinction between the persons of the Father and the Son in their relation to the Spirit. In order to clarify this possible confusion between the Spirit's procession from the Father and the Son, Letham proposes that we use the expression of Cyril of Alexandria, AD 378 to 444. The Spirit proceeds from the Father in the Son. In Letham's judgment, Cyril's formulation better expresses the mutual indwelling of the three Trinitarian persons, avoids any residue of subordinationism, by excluding the Son in respect to the procession of the Spirit, and offers a sure basis for the economic mission of the Spirit in granting us communion through Christ with the Father. Although Letham's proposal on the Spirit's procession from the Father in and through the Son will not likely bring about ecumenical consensus between East and West, it certainly deserves consideration as a credible contribution to the resolution of this long-standing controversy. And it does so on the crucial principle that what the triune God does in the history of redemption reveals God as he truly and necessarily is. The order of the eternal and necessary relations between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit within the one being of God is revealed in the economy of all of God's works in creation.